received more than 3,000 signatures in support of remaining with Britain. MLAs from the sister islands were equally vocal in their support of being tied to Britain in the strongest possible terms, with a signed petition of 79% of the registered voters stating if Grand Cayman choose to remain with an independent Jamaica, the sister islands would seek separate crown colony status under Britain.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk Today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us in another Monday's edition of Talk Today. It's our monthly mental health matters show, and we're going to be talking about process addictions. Didn't know what that is? You want to know what it is? Well, Ms. Raquel and Dr. Borden will share with us. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Email Talk Today at candw.ky. Let your voice be heard. And now, back to Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Hey, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us, and thanks to Dr. Alexandra Borden for always be willing to not only stand in the gap, but able to produce, source, and assemble a fantastic panel and great discussion. So, again, Dr. Borden, thank you so much. How are you?
Good, thank you, and thank you for always having us on here, and for allowing us to explore different topics as well. This month we're looking at process addictions, which is something that was suggested by Ms. Raquel, and I think it's a great idea. It's something that we've alluded to in the past, and we've done a lot of work around substance abuse, but today we're going to take the time to look at behavioral addictions and ways that behaviors can have very similar processes to what we see with substance abuse.
Well, Ms. Raquel, thanks very much, because I think many times we say things and not quite sure, well, is there a particular meaning to it, or we even don't say, we ignore it, assuming, and that could get us in spaces where, had we explored, we'd be better informed. So thanks again.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
All right. Process addictions. Is there a definition for that? I mean, what does that mean?
Well, I don't know that there's like a formal definition because, so just to talk a little bit about that, process or behavioral addictions are really in their infancy in what we know about them and the research that's out there. And so for years, we've been studying substance use disorders, but process or behavioral addictions are a bit different. These are things like, for example, sometimes sex addiction, although that there's a lot of controversy around that, which maybe we'll talk about. It can be other behaviors as well, like gambling. It can also be, and this is one that I really think we should focus some of our time on, is like social media and internet addiction. That includes video games as well. And that's something that I think I'm seeing a lot more, and I'm hearing a lot more people talk about, like internet addiction, social media addiction. Many of us can relate to that. If we have a smartphone in our pocket, how many times a day do we accidentally check our social media? So it's a little bit different in that substance use disorders, you're putting something foreign into your body, right? You're adding a chemical, whereas behavioral or process addictions, there's nothing being added to your body that's going to change your brain chemistry. And yet we're still seeing changes to how people operate. And there's a lot of overlap with looking very similar to substance use disorders.
So is behavioral and process synonymous in this instance?
Yeah. So we can call them whatever you want today.
Okay. So being that they're one and the same, OCD for what, and I want to know if it relates, whereas people seem to, this is there, they have to straighten it, the curtain, the shoe, and that's different from process behavioral.
Yes. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah. OCD is going to be a completely different category. And she and I were actually talking on the break that in doing research for the show, one of the rehabs actually even includes eating disorders as an addiction, which is not correct either. So this is newer phases. I think anyone who's worked in substance abuse knows when you quit using substances, the process transfers. Right. And this is why things like AA has rules for like no partners in the first year of recovery, because it can transfer from a substance, like using a substance and going to a substance for the dopamine release, to then having it maybe go to a partner. And that's where love or sex addiction kind of comes in. So it's all anecdotally. It's been around for many years, and anyone who's worked with substance abuse could speak to that. But what we're looking at now is going to be behaviors that are used to get that same dopamine fix.
So it's substituting something for something else.
Right. And so the only one right now that's actually diagnosable is gambling addiction, which people can probably relate to. And that it's, and how people will have very similar patterns where they go into the casino and, the machines and the tables are set up to have you, engage, and then sometimes you win, right? Sometimes you win big, sometimes you don't, many times you don't. And the contingencies that they use are set up to keep you going. But in order to, chasing losses is actually very similar to people who are fiending for drugs. So there's very similar processes throughout the whole process as it comes in, as it starts, as it builds, and in trying to stop it, they even see withdrawals sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'll even know, maybe as Ms. Raquel referenced, it's in its infancy in the research, but that, as you were sharing, I'm thinking of people on social media and almost conditioning, as an example. I with our friend, we won't say, we decided to try something, right? Afterwards, they laughed at it somewhat. Everybody's phone has a particular ding. Many phones are similar. So we made it chime. What do you think happened? Pavlov's dogs were the same.
For your phone.
Everybody. That chime. And even people who we didn't think were in, earshot, as it were, did the same thing. So, and that was just a little thing that we did, and then we had to apologize after to a few of them. But so we get addicted, we get conditioned, we make this association. Now, is that part of what we're looking at, in a sense that leads to us being, what's the word, program, expectant?
Yeah. So, that's exactly what's happening with any sort of addictive behavior, whether it's substance or it's just these behaviors that we're talking about. They're all activating the reward pathway in the brain, the same reward pathway, the dopamine, right? Dopamine is what makes us feel good. And we get dopamine in natural ways, right? It's not that dopamine's bad. Like, we get dopamine when we eat a good meal,
Good chocolate.
And we feel satisfied. Yeah, good chocolate. Chocolate will give you that little dopamine.
There you go, man.
We get dopamine when we socialize, right? When we go see our friends and we're laughing and we're chatting, like we get dopamine from that. So dopamine is a necessary neurochemical, and it's part of what tells us, oh, that's enjoyable, do more of it, right? So be social, make sure you eat. We don't want to starve. But the same thing happens with these other behaviors. So for social media, for example, you go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever the kids are using these days that I don't do. And you put your post on there, and then you start getting likes and comments, right? And every like, every comment is usually associated with a little bit of dopamine, right? Because we're social creatures. We want to feel liked. We want to feel engaged with. And so social media has perfected this. They have researched how they keep you hooked and are using that to their advantage, right? They know that you like the likes, that you like the comments, that you like certain things that you get out of social media. They know what gives you dopamine, and they're there to keep you engaged and continuing to seek it out.
Right. And the reason why, and after this little quote unquote experiment that the guy did, I still had to apologize, but I wanted to prove these are adults. These are people, let's just put it this way, not teenagers, okay? Although we look young, we're no longer 50. And watching the behavior, there were two people. One, and again, I have their permission to share slightly, who looked disappointed when the ding went off.
And it wasn't theirs.
And it wasn't theirs. And we asked, well, were you expecting something? No. There was another one, and he tends to be a little bit more stoic. He obviously was, and couldn't quite catch, But the one wasn't expecting something, looked disappointed. The one probably was, but was able to, mask it, contain it, maintain control. And these are adults. These are professionals. These are people who otherwise, occupy, places of prominence, as it were, responsible people, all, for the most part, other than being married, they're sober and sane. And yet these are not teenagers. And the same behavior was exhibited in them.
Yeah, none of us are immune from this, right? Wow. Age doesn't make us immune. Although I will say, I think if you came into social media, I didn't have social media growing up. It's going to date myself, but this came about when I was roughly 19 years old as Facebook is developed. So, I didn't grow up in that era where I had a lot of brain development that was taking place with social media. And now our children and our teens all do, and their brains are still being shaped and formed. And so it's much more impactful, I think, for our youth.
And if it's okay, and through you, both of you, maybe to our parents primarily, because what's interesting is that following this little thing, we had a conversation, some of us with our children and grandchildren. And what was interesting, two things. These are adolescents who are willing to say, yeah, this looks like a thing that should be monitored, controlled, restricted. And they're seeing in their younger siblings behaviors that we see in them, but somehow they see magnified in their younger siblings. And yet we're doing little or nothing about it. And even the conversations among the adults that maybe this needs to be restricted, limited, monitored, something. It's the adults, the parents and grandparents, who are unwilling to do the thing, and yet the children are going, well, you gave me the phone, you allow me access.
It's hard because even the children's shows like YouTube is one of the worst ones for the algorithms and essentially hijacking the reward system. Shows like
Coco Melon.
Exactly. Right. The colors they use and how quickly they move things releases more dopamine, which is why, I don't know if you've ever tried to take a tablet from a child while they're watching YouTube. It's really difficult. They get really upset. And so, all of this, there's research now to prove that part as well. So, so it should be of interest to parents.
Well, maybe not for this show, but just a question based on what we're seeing come out of the UK relative to some of their members of parliament and some of their much more, how would we say, engaged, involved, informed citizens. They're saying maybe 16 and under should be restricted. We're seeing the move to what they're calling dumb phones now. And then the need from the policy perspective potentially to monitor the algorithms. I've gathered that at one point, if they were doing left to right swipes, they found that to be as effective as they scrolling, top to bottom. So if they know this, they can manipulate it. If we consider it in gambling and casinos to be an issue, we're not in our own homes, schools, and just personal spaces. All right, when we come back, a reminder to break, can we talk more about it?
Absolutely.
Is this dangerous? Is this something that it's just a conversation for philosophers and sociologists and psychologists, or is this something that maybe parents and politicians should be considering? All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Speed into Dream Carnival with Digicel, Cayman's #1 5G network. Win day-wear packages and aftermath tickets by activating a 10-day Prime Pro bundle or paying your bill on time. Don't miss out on these epic events. Go to your nearest Digicel store today or activate a plan in the My Digicel app for your chance to start fetting today. Digicel, better connected.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Prescription refills made easy at Savannah Pharmacy. WhatsApp your prescription refills to 929-5045.
The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drportercayman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to Dr. Alexandra Board and Ms. Raquel Tobian for Mental Health Matters, our monthly show, and we say process addictions. And there are those of us who are addicted to some processes, and some of us wish, we could just have a process. But we're talking about the behavior of people and the way that behavior affects them and how they respond to the things they do. Is there a why we do that? I know you referenced at the outset that maybe someone who has a substance abuse sort of an addiction, then they'll move from that to something else and sort of transfer or replace it. But how How are they different? How are they similar? I mean, share with us a lot more.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about this dopamine piece of the addictive process, right? And dopamine is something that we all naturally seek. So all humans, as we evolved, learned to seek out dopamine, right? Because that is the thing that makes us feel good. And we do derive it from things that we actually need to do. You get dopamine from, like, I shared eating. Well, eating is a function that you need to continue to survive, right? So we developed to, okay, I get dopamine, I like it, it feels satisfying and rewarding, I'm going to keep eating. Well, that's really good because you need to eat to live, right? And there's other dopamine releases, like sex is one, right? We need to procreate to continue our species. So from a survival standpoint, dopamine has been necessary for us. And it still is, and we still get it in all of these ways. But our modern society, we have created a lot of process or behavioral, potential behaviors that are addictive that release a lot of dopamine that, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, we just didn't get.
Right. Is it then with that dopamine that even we as an individual, we don't know that's what it's called, but we would be cognizant if we do this thing, that response that we get makes us feel good, we'll do it. And then that's the dopamine.
Yeah. Then like a natural behavioral process, right? Like the basics of behaviorism is that we repeat things that feel good for us.
Right.
And if something harms us, we tend not to do it unless it's an addiction and the reward is really strong.
So I wanted to ask then two things based on that. The fact that the thing we're doing gives us this thing that releases dopamine that makes us feel good. That thing itself may not necessarily be a good thing. Besides addiction to some sort of substance, it could be an activity. We could be pushing ourselves, the adrenaline junkie or what have you. So that thing that potentially could be harmful could also make us feel good in the process because of the increase in dopamine.
Absolutely.
All right. If we were to take and measure, and if so, can we connect some sort of tube to our brain? Would we be able to see the quote unquote the release of the dopamine in our body, the brain center that's responsible to lighten up? Would we be able to see that?
I bet in MRIs you can. I don't know that for sure, but we certainly have research on brain imaging that shows us how people's brains that are addicted to substances look different than a non-addicted brain. So we know that the actual structure and chemistry in the brain changes as a result of addictive process.
Right. And the reason why I was asking, and you referenced it, the infamous, mouse that is being used constantly, it's going to that little button, that little syringe, and it's getting that hit that fix that dopamine release, even over food. So I wonder with the young child with the dumb device that we foolishly as parents purchase and can't afford, and then we take it from the child throws a tantrum. Apparently that's happening these days, right? I wonder if we've seen the same thing in the child. You're taking away this thing, and then the child feels this, this ill effect, then you give it back to the child. I wonder if we realize that's the same sort of scenario as the rat, hitting on the thing in the syringe in the cage.
And the rat one is cocaine normally in the water.
Okay.
That study. That's what it was.
Okay.
It's either cocaine in the water or an actual electrode in the ventral tegmental area, which is where the dopamine is released for this system. Right. So yeah.
I'm glad you referenced. I was going to try to shy away because I want parents to start to consider potentially the physical brain development of the child, the socialization, and not be so unwilling to be a parent and say, listen, I'm trying to do what's best for you, right? And for us now, again, coming back to the policy perspective, do we need to consider, sanctioning some of these things? These guys who are writing these things because they're making their money. It's no different from the drug dealer who's giving the young child, a sample.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's hard because a lot of these are like quote unquote normal behaviors and things that we do, because like shopping's another example. Okay. And so, and I know that we often talk about when does something become diagnosable, which is when it begins to become problematic. Right. So when if the kid's no longer able to function at school, no longer able to make friends, or is having meltdowns every day, that might be a sign that there's a problem. Right. With any of the other ones, if you are engaging in it and it's causing harm to yourself. We just covered gambling addiction in my class. We talked about there's a Mexican movie star that was, I think, spent 3.5 days in the casino, ended up passing out. his name will come to me as I walk out of here, I'm sure. But that's an example of harmful use, right? So that he was using it, he was there gambling, not going to get food, not drinking enough water, and ended up passing out and ended up needing medical support.
Wow.
That's a problem, right? So a lot of spending your money, right? So spending money you don't have, taking the rent money and spending it, shopping, online gambling, spending time that you should be with your kids or working or doing personal things, right? When it begins to interfere with your daily activities or it's being used despite harm, then that becomes an issue.
Would it be better, and just a thought, you said process and behavioral can be interchangeable, they're one and the same. I wonder if it would be better called a behavioral addiction as opposed to a process addiction, only for the general sort of less informed public, because if your behavior is something that you're doing as opposed to a process which sounds so innocuous and nothing at all.
Yeah, I think behavioral addiction makes a lot of sense for the general public when thinking about this. And I think this is a really difficult one to identify because, as Dr. Bodden said, so often these are normal behaviors. Like social media is normal. Not everyone is on it. Some people have abstained. Good for them. But many of us, have joined the social media, and we have some form of social media on our phones that we do check and we post to. And it's a normal behavior up until it starts causing problems, right? When you're spending, I spent 6 hours on various forms of social media to the detriment of cooking myself dinner, of getting enough sleep, of engaging with my partner, my family, of socializing with my friends. Instead, I did it all online. Right. And so you're like, yes, it is a normal behavior, but there's definitely a point when it crosses the threshold to being problematic in your life.
Is this then the challenge, Dr. Bodden, as you referenced, the idea that it only becomes an issue when it becomes an issue that you can recognize it? The old adage, closing the gate after the horse is bolted. If it's only at that point that we respond to it, could be a little bit late.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and realizing that addictions tend to come out as it's a coping mechanism, right? So it's a way of dealing with other feelings and other stresses that are going on as well. And that's where when people are in treatment for substance use disorders, we're very mindful that whereas you were using that to feel better, that it might transfer to something else, whether sex, shopping, some kind of behavior. But yeah, for sure, when people are under pressure, that's when we always tell people to be mindful of drug use and alcohol use. Same thing with if you're beginning to have excess. Probably even like online shopping is probably a big one too. I'm sure with Amazon in the States, right? So so that's the time to be mindful of it, and preferably before it's a major issue. As
we speak to Ms. Raquel and Dr. Bodden, you will recall, I'm trying to think how long back I said that there are a couple of us against adults. And we'll talk about digital detox. I reminded the break. This same group of adults attempted to come off social media and agreed, no this, no that, whichever one, not all together, and to see the impact. I want to share that with you and our listeners after, and these are adults, and see how that will play into our behavior and addiction.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
All right. Join us after the break. Hold your thought.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet. Because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone, and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
The Ministry of Education and the Passport and Corporate Services Office remind all students traveling to and from school overseas to ensure their passports are valid for both travel and entry into their destination country. Passports should be renewed at least 10 weeks before departure, and any necessary student visas must be obtained. For passport services, contact the Passport and Corporate Services Office at 649-7678. For Ministry of Education scholarship inquiries, contact scholarships@gov.ky. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Education and the Passport and Corporate Services Office.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And of course, the phone lines are available 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp call 925-3261. I remember the numbers. No, I won't make a joke about that. It's our monthly Mental Health Matters. Dr. Borden, as Raquel joins us, and behavioral addictions. All right. If it's okay, please guide me, because I want to say again publicly, this has been helpful this last decade plus of these shows, having these discussions, helping us to explore, to understand, to appreciate that when we talk about wellness, physical, financial, and our emotional, mental health is, part and parcel. It's fundamental, it's key. So hopefully more people are recognizing that there shouldn't be any sort of stigma, any sort of reservation about talking to a trained professional. But with that in mind, these adults that I was referencing decided that we would try an experiment some months back. Put on our phones or devices, some all together for a bit, some only on some platforms, and to see. And there were some of us who said, "Oh, that's easy, no problem." Some would say, "Okay, well, I won't use this one, just this one, because it's necessary." Make justifications. All of us, myself included, struggle.
Yeah.
Literally struggle. Because with our contacts, we need to keep in touch with family, we got business, all sorts of reasons. For 1 hour, for 1 week, even for a day. Adults. Is that, am I exaggerating? Is that a statement inconsistent with the truth, Ms. Raquel? Is that something that would surprise you?
Not at all. I will, if I was asked to not use my phone for even a day, it would be a struggle. And I would find myself probably being like, "Oh, I have a break. Let me just check real quick." Yeah. And I don't consider myself to have abnormal, social media use, but it's become a normal part of our life. We all use it, right? We're always on our phones. Good for the people who have managed to stay away from it, but most of us, it's an integral part of how we function.
Right. So there was one individual for whom we know it's a phone is mostly a phone call. Rarely is there anything else that he uses it for. And so, okay, your phone ring, if you need to make a call, go ahead. Other than that, he said what he found was that even though he never did the other things on the phone, guess what? He wanted to do those things. He wanted to go online and check stuff. He had a practice of his computer. It was a desktop, not a laptop. He was sitting, he was checking emails and doing stuff there. But he was doing it on his phone. Can we explain that?
I'm not sure what to make of that.
I don't know.
So when he gave up his phone, he decided he wanted to start checking his
yeah,
emails?
he wanted to use his phone. His sort of give was, okay, he'll still use his phone to make his calls as normal. So for him, it would have been easy in his mind because he doesn't do those things in a way. But now that he can't do those things, he's committed. It weren't things that he used to do anyway, and now he wants to do them.
Anytime you tell someone no, the human nature is to push back against it, right? So that's where, even we've talked about, especially things like managing like emotional eating. If you say like no French fries, that's different than eat broccoli, right? The human's not good with no. Humans don't think in negative, right? So as soon as you say don't do something, that's all you can think about. Right, so
don't touch.
Because actually, using the computer for social media and emails is actually something I've recommended to clients to help to break the pattern of being on their phone all the time, because then you have to sit down, make time, and focus. Yeah. But as soon as you tell someone they can't do something, there's that niggling need to get there. But it's complicated by the need to be responsive in today's society as well, right? That many times employers, clients, customers expect to have some kind of interaction with us and have it quickly.
Immediate.
Yeah, so that's where it's hard, because there's this expectation now within society that people are responsive pretty much 24/7, but then also trying to be responsible with your social media and your access as well.
And I appreciate them not only sort of having a little fun and engaging, but we did it specifically because all of us are saying as parents, our children are on the phones too much. They need to go outside and play. But yet we as adults are challenged to do some of the things that we should be able to otherwise. Or what we say is that, so Ms. Raquel, with that and that behavioral addiction, and we've seen our young children from the 3-year-old with the tablet, probably even younger, to that 13-year-old, to that 20-something-year-old. Are there any major concerns that we should be?
Yeah. So I think you're speaking about one of the key kind of diagnostic criteria for any addiction, which is withdrawal. And so, in substance use disorders, when someone is highly addicted to a substance, if you take it away, we see signs of withdrawal. And those can be extremely severe, and they're often very physical, right? If someone is in alcohol withdrawal, they might start hallucinating. They might be quite shaky. They might have nausea, vomiting. Other types of drugs have different, levels of withdrawal and experiences. But we also see withdrawal from things like just our behaviors, right? If we take our phones away, if we take our social media away, even if we're not having problematic use, we might find it, oh, this is difficult. I notice it. It's not just second nature to give up my phone. I might feel a little bit annoyed. I might feel irritated. I might feel maybe some anxiety that I haven't been able to check my social media. And that's even if you're not having a major addictive issue, right? But as we start looking at this as an addictive behavior, you're going to notice more significant changes when that's removed from an adult or a child, right? Instead of, oh, I'm a little bit irritated, it's like, oh, I can't regulate my emotions. I'm having outbursts. I screamed at my partner, my children today in a way that I normally don't. And that's a byproduct of taking away this behavior.
So something you referenced earlier in terms of brain development, and presumably that is in the person up until, I think it's age 25, I'm told. Men maybe a little bit longer, but no, my friend's going to be like, but with that in mind, if we understand that is the physiological, the biological process that goes on in our bodies, I wonder if we're cognizant or sufficiently concerned enough of that impact on that child at age 20, at age 40.
Yeah. So I will just say I have a lot of concerns for our younger generation. And I know some parents out this as well, and they're very thoughtful about screen time and about what age their child is going to be introduced to that. At what age does their child get a cell phone? And I also think it's really difficult as a parent in today's society. It's, you come home from a full day at work and your child demands full attention. And sometimes you're like, I just need a break. Here's your tablet. Can you just give me an hour for myself? But what's the impact of that overall? What does it look like when it's not just an hour and it's mom's exhausted and doing too much, or dad's exhausted and doing too much, and kid is over here for 5 hours a day with a screen? And I'm not a parenting expert. I feel like this is more your area, so I would love to hear from you as well.
It's not. I am just a parent.
There's no such thing as a
More
parent
than
expert.
Right. I mean, because then it's then complicated by the parents not being emotionally present. They run into all the difficulties with attachment, communication that we've talked about before. So it is hard. It's hard to find a balance. There are tools that you can use that can be helpful. If you have concerns picking different shows on YouTube, you can block certain things. You can have different apps that will limit how much screen time they have, and just monitoring and helping them make better choices. Like some TV shows can be educational, right? They're not high stimulation like a lot of the modern ones are, and educational and can be helpful. So making better choices with screen time, and making time for the kids as well to still feel connected to you.
In saying that, I'm inclined to ask. We talk about, being a good example to our children, modeling behavior. I wonder if as parents, grandparents, as the adults, if we're failing to do that, are we saying to the child, do as I say, not as I do? We want the child off this device, not watching TV, not doing this, but we ourselves are not, setting a good example.
For sure. There was a study that we used in a presentation. So World Mental Health Day a few years back had was looking at screen time in youth. And it was a really interesting study that followed a group of, I think, 10 kids that had no phones for 2 weeks. They, of course, tripped out when they found out what their parents had signed them up for. But they did video diaries going along. And it was really interesting that, they then started going outside and connecting with friends, and they had fewer tantrums and fewer meltdowns and were better regulated, and they were happier. And by the end, they said how grateful they were, but their only wish was that their parents would do the same. And I thought that was really telling for the things that we've been discussing. But I agree, it's hard for everyone, and we model, and kids will learn from us.
There's one program, one school in the UK, I think it's called 7 to 7, where the child comes in, they're free to sign up to this program. I think it's going to end now with the school year. Hopefully they'll pick it back up in September, where you come in, you give up your digital device, they engage in talking, they eat together, they're the meals, they're all these other activities. And so far, what they have found is that initially, like you said, the child was a bit reluctant, but seeing the positiveness, seeing the engagement, they're thinking there's something fundamental now. It's just a, sort of a pilot program. But I wonder if we, as a society, need to consider, and if you're saying, behavioral addictions, yes, on the phone is normal, watching TV is normal, using your tablet, I don't know if that's normal, but seems to be normalized. Yeah. All right. When we come back then, can we talk more about it? Can we talk about, if it's an issue, how do we recognize it? Can it be treated? Do we need to hire me to go and destroy all these tablets? I mean, just let me know. All right. Phone lines are open if you have a question. If you think it's not worthwhile, well, share that too. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
We are Radio Cayman,
covering Cayman Brac, Little Cayman, and Grand Cayman.
1 in a million. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. The Public Service Pensions Board announces that in accordance with the Public Service Pensions Act, the pension augmentation for 2024 has been calculated at 3.8% based on the Consumer Price Index as determined by the Economics and Statistics Office. In international news, Russia has blamed the U.S. and vowed consequences for a Ukrainian missile strike in occupied Crimea on Sunday, which officials say killed 4 people, including 2 children. Around 150 more were injured in the attack as missile debris fell on a beach nearby. Russia's defense ministry said the missiles used by Ukraine were U.S.-supplied ATACMS missiles and claimed they were programmed by U.S. specialists. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called the strike barbaric and accused the U.S. of killing Russian children. A Florida family whose home was hit by space debris earlier this year is seeking compensation from U.S. space agency NASA for property damage and mental anguish. The 1.6-pound metal object punched a hole in the roof through 2 layers of ceiling in Alejandro Otero's home in Naples this past March. NASA has said the object was part of some 5,800 pounds of hardware that was dumped by the International Space Station after it had new lithium-ion batteries installed. Mr. Otero said his son was nearly injured by the impact. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
The Health Services Authority has over 120 world-class physicians offering the most comprehensive range of specialist services on island. Our dedicated team of professionals provide the highest quality care in orthopedics, interventional radiology, women's health, geriatrics, and a host of other specialist areas. We are a JCI accredited organization with a proven record of excellence. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky.
At Kirk Market, it's so easy to eat well and find healthy options. With their fresh veggies from local farmers, hormone-free chicken, local seafood, and grass-fed meats, Kirk Market has delicious, quality food at the best prices. And you must check out their fresh salad bar, hot bar, and med bar for daily healthy options on the go. Their delicious dishes are made with fresh, high-quality ingredients such as prime meats and organic veggies. Eating great is important to me. That's why Kirk Market is my store. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and shop happy.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman Brac, on the 8th day of July 1936, Captain Fred Elman Scott was the 5th child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Captain Scott was a quiet-natured child who liked going on the bluff with his grandfather Oscar Brown, swimming every Saturday evening and playing cricket down where Miss Alamay's house sits now. He was very studious at Creek Elementary School and did very well under the tutelage of his favorite teacher, Miss Isley Connolly in BE. Following the tragic death of his father at sea, at age 14 he left school to work with Arnold Foster to support his family. In 1953 he joined his first ship, the Beretta, a local cargo vessel, signing on as deck boy, working his way up to boatswain. From 1953 until 2006, some 52 years, Captain Scott made his living working off the seas.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Cayman, mark your calendars for the high-speed thrills of the third round of the 2024 C1 National Tour, Sunday, June 30th at South Sound Dock. Current division leaders Nathan McLean, Joshua Watler, Hayden Green, and Ryan Dixon look to defend their top positions on the open waters. But the rest of the pack is on the attack. Gather the family and enjoy a fun-filled day of thrilling races, delicious food, and cool treats. Admission is free. Be there to catch all the action live with the Cayman Islands Watercraft Association. Round 3 of the 2024 C1 National Tour, Sunday, June 30th at South Sound Dock, starting at 11 a.m. Proudly sponsored by Car City, Cayman Islands Coast Guard, Cayman Islands Fire Service, Pepsi, Fast Signs, J&M Equipment, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Heritage, Party Animals, Sea Breeze Charters and Jet Ski Rentals, Verdant Isle Farm, Health City, Cayman Islands, National Logistics, Onshore IT, Ministry of Tourism and Ports, Radio Cayman, and Breeze FM.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for this, and thanks to Dr. Alexandra Warden and to Miss Raquel Tobian. I'm grateful that we were having these conversations, and you were allowing, when you talk about process addictions, then synonymous behavioral addictions. So for me, calling it that, probably a bit more palatable, more comprehensible, perhaps even not just better to understand, but more applicable.
Mm-hmm.
So behavioral addictions, people doing something because they feel good as a result of doing it, to release the dopamine, they want to do it more.
And then doing it so much that bad things start to happen.
Yes, that would be the...
Okay, so we can see with gambling, I know, Dr. Borden, you referenced that eating disorders may be a little bit of a...
Okay, no. So eating disorders are going to be another part.
Right.
That's another disorder completely. But there can be like food addictions as well, where people end up with. I mean, there's also binge eating disorder, so it gets quite complicated.
Okay.
But food obviously works on the same dopamine pathways as well. Once you get into anorexia, bulimia, it's a different process.
Well, I'm grateful to my daughter for many things, and one is she said to me, "Do you realize you stress eat?" And I go, "Huh?" And now that I'm conscious of it, I think I actually do. So is that a thing?
Of course it is. Yeah, a lot of us are familiar with that, feeling stressed and wanting a dopamine release to feel a little bit better.
Okay. And I was thinking about it because I want us to recognize that as much as we think we're the only ones who have this thing, we're not. As much as we think this thing is new, there's nothing new under the sun. So hopefully through this discussion, more of us would recognize that there are things we're doing that we're not alone. There's help. And we shouldn't be ashamed. We should recognize it. And then there are things that we didn't know about, but now we may be cognizant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think that's a really important message because all of these behaviors have the potential to be normal human behaviors. And so people are like, well, everyone does this. Why would I need help for it? Or there is still, like with any addiction, there's still a stigma attached to it for seeking treatment or seeking out professional help.
Okay.
And especially with some of the newer things like the internet or video games, people feel a stigma around that because they're like, well, this is just kind of ridiculous. Like everyone does it. Why would I need help to stop?
Right.
But the reality is for any addictive behavior, it's appropriate to seek out treatment if you're having a hard time reducing how often you're doing that behavior, how frequently you're engaging in it.
Can I then ask then, in relation to behavioral addictions that we're talking about, we can see gambling being an issue. If you take in the money that we should be buying food or paying the bills or whatever, you're there for extended periods, whether you're not drinking or not eating, you're just there. But video games, two immediate things. One, we've heard instances where a person has been playing a video game for seemingly days on end, and all of a sudden, something fatal happens. Okay, that's an issue. But to the person, whether it's a 30-year-old or a 13-year-old, who's 10, 12, 15 hours and haven't moved, I mean, that's normal, right?
Definitely not. Maybe
I don't do sarcasm.
once in a while, maybe, but like even that, right? Like there's this reality that if you're engaged in a video game or internet use of any kind for such a prolonged period of time, you have to be sacrificing other important things in your life.
Okay.
Right. And so, okay, well, I come home and I play video games every night for 7 hours. I don't know about you, but like I can't even find a free hour in my life. So I have no understanding of how somebody has 7 hours to do anything. I'm like, tell me your secret. But like the secret is that it's just addiction, right? And that I'm prioritizing a behavior that's coming at a cost. And that cost is maintaining social relationships, taking care of like the admin of my life.
Right.
I'm letting all of these things that are actually very important fall by the wayside because I'm prioritizing this thing that I really enjoy and gives me that dopamine hit.
So then let me then ask, TV watching. There were some of us way back when. There used to be this thing called soap operas. Maybe they still exist. And they came on at a certain time, and maybe it's a sitcoms and anything. People would go home in the absence of the VCR and the DVR, and they would watch that for the next 3 or 4 hours. Every evening, that was their thing. Habit, behavioral addiction, healthy, unhealthy?
Depends on the person.
Okay.
Right? Like, what are you giving up? Is there a consequence to this? And also, if we take it away, do you experience withdrawal?
Okay.
You know, one of the things we see with behavioral addictions is that people use them to regulate their mood.
Uh-huh.
So how do I get rid of my unwanted negative feelings? I engage in whatever that behavior is, whether it's video games, TV, internet, pornography, whatever it might be.
Right.
And then I don't feel bad anymore.
Huh. So sorry, Dr. Borden.
Yeah, because and I would say as well, kind of with that, with the withdrawals that come with it as well, if you're using it and you're not able to cut back, if you begin to feel guilty when you're doing it, if you feel like you have to hide it, if you feel like it's out of control, right? That you're not even, it's almost dissociative at times where like you're not even aware of what's going on and it feels like you're not in control of what's going on. It's become compulsive.
All right. So let me then liken in the television as an example, 3-4 hours a night every night, or maybe it's once a week a particular show, or maybe it's a season of a sports and you're there consistently. So liken that to 2 individuals, one who steps away and goes to pray. Something's happening and goes and meditate and prays and, just drops everything and goes. And then another, she'll go for a run. She says, okay, this meeting is going nowhere. And she goes for a run. It may be a 5K, it may be a 1 mile sprint that she does in less than 5 minutes. Because both of them have shared that doing that activity gives them clarity, gets them to focus, brings them back, and then they're ready to go again. How does that fit in? Is that separate? Is that unhealthy? Healthy? I mean,
well, everything in moderation, right? Because even those things, I mean, any behavior could probably become an addiction for the right person, right? Yeah, I mean, even exercise, it's absolutely a healthy thing. However, if you're exercising 6 hours a day, you have a diagnosis.
Okay.
Unless maybe if that's your career or your profession, that might be a bit different if you're like bodybuilding. But for most people, that's going to fall somewhere in the category of a problematic behavior.
Right. But even with that exercise, so some of us will be 5-7 days a week, maybe every day at this appointed time for 20 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it is, they go into exercise and they're eating well because part of their lifestyle. We're not talking about that. They're trying to be healthy and they're disciplined and determined and all those things. That's potentially could be something that they wouldn't do. They would feel bad about not doing and not feel that groundedness. Dr. Warden?
Yeah, but unless you're in the range, I think that Ms. Raquel is talking about, I'm going to go with those are actually quite helpful grounding things. Like exercise is a great way to burn off stress, to get release of dopamine and endorphins. And so those are actually generally healthy adaptive coping skills. Right. So yeah, you might feel guilty not going because it's a part of your routine, but it's not like you have to go because otherwise you're going to feel terrible because of it. Right. And so those are actually, and a lot of it's used to actually regulate the nervous system, right? So stress activates the fight or flight response. So going for a run actually helps to burn off the stress and allows you to re-ground yourself, as does prayer. Prayer tends to be down-regulating as well, in that it's more of a meditation, it's mindfulness, it's reflecting, connecting with a higher power. So I would go with those are actually healthy, adaptive. Yes, anything in excess is an issue. But those are actually generally within the normal range, are actually quite healthy.
Right. And this is where as people are listening, there are those of us who we have to do that thing on that day.
Well, that's where it varies by person, right? Some people can have a glass of wine every night and they don't have any problems from it. They still function well. They still are connected with their family. They still get up and go to work. They're not breaking the bank to do it. And other people that have a drink and, are down the rabbit hole.
One is too much and 100 is not enough.
So, so it varies from person to person, which is where, none of these things are a hard line. Like some people can deal with very high levels of stress and still be functioning well, right? They're not overwhelmed with it. They've got all their coping skills in place. They've got adequate social support. It becomes a disorder when the person's overwhelmed by it or they're not able to complete their responsibilities.
It's controlling them. As you said, I was thinking to, people who they'll have coffee Monday through Friday or any working day, but not on a weekend, not on a public holiday, just as a way to show that they're in control. And the coffee is association. You come into work, you pour your cup.
If you're starting to play those games with yourself, that might be a problem. But the caffeine addiction is actually diagnosable, but we don't tend to because most of the world would be on it.
Yeah.
Right? And caffeine intoxication, not quite as exciting as some of the other ones, but it's still there. It's still actually. I had a student actually said they've seen an admission from caffeine intoxication.
Yeah.
But sugar's huge as well, right? You quit eating sugar, you quit drinking caffeine, then you end up with headaches, you're miserable, you're tired, and it's huge. It
So it's a
causes
substance
major
addiction.
issues. Yeah,
Right.
Sugar is probably one of the hardest ones that we have. Caffeine is another very popular one as well. So, but those are substances, right?
Okay.
But they're still within the same range,
Right.
right? If you don't have enough money to be going to Starbucks 3 times a day, then that's a problem.
Yeah. So that substance addiction, we could probably, whether it's caffeine or that sweet, that sugary thing that you need, because you need that boost. But then the behavior, the gambling, you reference sex as a stress relief, as a thing. There are things that we're doing that maybe as adults with whomever, however, legal, consenting, but not understanding that there's an addiction, a negative consequence.
Yes.
Huh.
And I just want to make my plug. So sex addiction is very debated in the psychological community as to whether or not that even exists. And that largely comes from the fact that for many, many years, we've pathologized what is just normal sexual behavior. And we've made people feel ashamed and guilty about it. And we now know a lot more. And there's actually just a lot that falls in the realm of totally normal human sexual behavior. So when we're talking about it as an addiction, it's really when that behavior has crossed into that territory of causing problems in your life.
Okay.
Right? It's like, okay, this is now, I didn't do the things I needed to do at home because I spent too much time watching internet pornography, or I engaged in this behavior for such an excessive amount of time that it's coming at a detriment. It's causing serious problems in other areas of my life.
You're leaving work and to go see a prostitute. So that's some of the cases that we've had come up in our books. So yeah.
And I was going to say that for me, the physical interaction, so the people who are gambling with others as opposed to online, the person who's engaged in a physical consensual sexual activity as opposed to, with the screen. Not to belabor it, not to belittle people, but that lack of physical contact, I can potentially see that being more detrimental, more potentially harmful.
The screen or the off screen?
The screen.
I think they're probably equally harmful depending on how they're being used.
Okay.
There's some research that is actually shown though with internet use related to pornography, that when you take that away, people are actually less interested in physical, sexual interaction with an inappropriate partner.
Right.
Because of what the internet has done to
So
their relationship with sex.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. That's probably more harmful. But Dr.
Their
Wood?
hopes, their expectations, and what they're looking for it. But with the physical sex, you end up with a lot of medical issues, right? Because you're exposed to STIs, possible pregnancy. If you're going outside of your marriage, you're then exposing your partner to it. So there's a lot of complications that come with the physical sex as well. Pornography addiction has huge impacts on relationships as well. So
expectations,
and again, partners may engage in it, at their choice.
Consenting adults, whatever you want to.
Right, but when it's one partner and that's beginning to impact the connection, that's an issue.
And even just listening to you chat, and I'm thinking, wow, this can be taboo, a bit uncomfortable. I'm trying to ask us as adults to have conversations that are healthy. The foods that we're eating for someone, for myself. If I stress eat, it's not this kind of stuff. It's specifically this, what I want. And if so, why? How do I manage that? How do I make sure it's not controlling me? Are we doing the same with gambling or any other activity? Can we acknowledge that within ourselves and recognize it and do something about it, or do we need, a lobotomy? I mean, just.
Well, with all addiction, we talk about the stages of change, and one of the first stages is what we call pre-contemplation,
Okay.
which is just a fancy word for we don't think we have a problem in that stage, which is where people often start when they, when we're looking at them from the outside looking in and we're going, you're having some real problems with this. But they're like, no, I don't. And now
Denial?
some people, I was going to say denial is often a term that comes with that, but we like to say pre-contemplation because
Make it easy.
That's the clinical term. Because denial can be stigmatized.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
So we say pre-contemplation, like we're simply not aware yet that this is a problem. And then people become aware and they move into contemplation and they start thinking about it. And so it's very normal for people to be like, I don't have a problem with that. What are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with how I video game, how I, do X, Y, Z.
As you said, I'm thinking to the great philosopher, George Carlin. Words nowadays have, 15 syllables as a before. What?
Pre-contemplation.
Denial. And he said once, I don't have a problem drinking, you just have a problem with me drinking.
Let's call it unawareness.
Yeah. See, unawareness, denial.
Listen, it got a little bit better.
No, but in that jovialness, I'm hoping that we as adults will start to be cognizant, accept that, as we say to our children initially about the use of those devices, chances are we bought it for them. We're allowing them to use it, but again, guide me as the adult, worse. We're also doing the same thing that we're trying to get them to stop doing and not setting a good example. Mm-hmm. So what messages are we sending them? How are we affecting them?
Well, and for increasing self-awareness, most phones and tablets these days have some kind of way of gauging how much time you're spending.
Mm-hmm.
And that may be a good place to start with kind of deciding, is this an issue? But I'd say if any of it kind of makes sense or there are any difficulties, it might be worthwhile talking to someone to even if it's not an addiction, as say it's gambling's the only one that we diagnose like this. Some would come under impulse control disorders. But it's helpful to build other coping skills, right? Even if that is an okay one that you've been using for a while, if you're under new pressure, new roles, new job, right? Loss of job, loss of relationship, whatever it is. It's sometimes helpful to have someone to talk to come up with new ways of dealing with things, new strategies for coping with stress and transitions. So it might be worthwhile just reaching out to talk to someone.
So with that then, treatments. I mean, are there specific things? First, recognizing, maybe, acknowledging there could be something, talking to someone. But Ms. Raka?
Yeah. So if you're not going to come into therapy, if you're not at that stage yet, like Dr. Bodden was saying, there's a lot of things that you can do on your own.
Mm-hmm.
There are, of course, apps that you have to install on your smart device to monitor you.
It's very hard to avoid that.
But you can set timers, right? Yeah. If you're like, man, I'm really struggling with this. I spent way too much time, on my phone. You can limit yourself with apps and it will give you some reminders that you're like, oh, hey, you've reached your limit for the day. And then I think if you're at that point where you're going, boy, I reached my limit and then I ignored the timer that it set and said I want more time. And then I ignored it again and I'm having a hard time cutting back or adhering to these limits. That's an indicator that it would be a great idea to go talk to someone professionally about this.
Mm-hmm. And I think too, as I listen, I'm recognizing that as parents and our friends, maybe we have shared values. I don't let little Johnny spend more than 5 hours. And if his friend, little Susie, is spending 15, oh, my mommy, she gets to do this. So having similar values, but likewise with the adult as well. Are we modeling that behavior so that the child can see how challenging it is for the adult to put the phone down and not justify that it is for work or not, you're expecting some important thing or what if, Grammy calls or what have you. So do we need to kind of be a little bit more as the adult sensitive as well as sensible?
Of course.
It's a big order to ask.
Yeah, well, it's just being more mindful in the things that we do and trying to make healthier options for us and for our family. It is hard with all the pressure that's on these days, but it's something that will benefit everyone if we're able to.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been reassured from many people several people I've spoken to have been able to do it, that it actually is really helpful to everyone, to be able to remove screens.
I would share this and I'd ask you to guide me. If we did it for ourselves, as opposed to having it done for us, as an example, I'd rather a book than a screen. Personally, I've always And I said one day, and I share this so that people recognize this is real. I said one day during the break, the gentleman was sitting where you are, Miss Raquel, and I said, man, I wish I didn't have this phone. And before the show ended good, the phone dropped, and I didn't have the phone for a week. And it was difficult. I had no contacts. I could not remember the people's numbers that I needed to call, my schedule. And it was challenging because I was not in control, as opposed to, where I deliberately put it down and said, nope, not going to touch it for the next hour or the next day. Now, can we do that? How do we feel if we did that? How does that affect our lives? So, again, we need to be in control, not let it control us.
Right. And if it feels out of control, that's a warning sign that, hey, maybe I'm having a bit of an issue with this and I need to take a look at it.
Okay. Would it be helpful if we who are listening now, we the adults, maybe we do it in partner with our spouses or our children and say, let's put it down for tonight and have a meal, for argument's sake, half an hour. We're going to go for a walk, everybody's together, and see if it's make us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, even like having like a basket and putting all the phones in it is something that I've seen done for families. Yeah. And then if you bring in something else that's enjoyable, then all the better. You get the connection and because you get oxytocin from spending time with family in addition to dopamine. So you get even other neurochemical
and if you don't like your family, spend with friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But working with the therapist, then you could identify, you can get a better gauge of the behavior, see the impact it's having, identify what it does for you, find other ways of meeting those needs and building a healthier lifestyle. So there's a lot of options.
All right. So my takeaway from you guys is that this is real. We shouldn't ignore it. And as we look at our children, the young ones, the students, and we complain, maybe we're not acknowledging that we, the adult, the parent, the grandparent, are just as bad or worse. And we are too of a behavioral addiction.
Potentially. And I would say I think it's a great challenge to ask everyone to take some time out of your week and try and just get rid of your phone for a couple of hours and see how that feels for you.
Yeah. I want to again thank the guys for unsuspectingly playing along. And it was just to demonstrate that here are all men, all responsible, some retired, all decent people, but they struggle. And these are not teenagers to, put up the phone. Wow.
Yeah. No, it's having huge impacts on the world today, and especially the developing minds. So services are available. So Counseling Center has free services for anyone in Cayman. They're available at 949-8789. Lots of help with addiction specialties. In addition to Ms. Raquel, Infinite Mind Care has a lot of services available. There's a lot of services, even Caribbean Haven through Counseling Center. And Mr. Brand, who we come on with, so Hope for Today Foundation and The Bridge also offer support primarily for substance use disorders, but since we're talking about addictions, I figured I would mention those as well because these things often come together. So,
and thank you both.
Lots of help available.
Yep.
And it's not, hopefully as people listen, that they should feel less than, that they should feel stigmatized, that they should feel that there's something wrong with them. And to recognize that, I can say it, you said it, you're still young, Ms. Raquel, so this internet thing is still relatively new.
Yeah. Well, psychology is only just beginning to acknowledge this, but I think that social media and the internet's made it all so much more available that it really is, something to contend with these days. And the American Psychiatric Association is doing its due diligence to figure out which ones we add in.
Yeah, well, a lot of things have come to my mind, and let's hold that for another time, but I'm so glad that we have the resources that we do now, and maybe we will recognize that limited interaction that we have, physically playing games, talking, just fellowshipping, however that is really, really taking a toll on our lives because of, right, Miss?
Can I add? So that they redid that rat experiment, and when they gave them an option to spend time with other rats, they didn't kill themselves from the button. So I thought that was interesting.
It just shows you it's kind of like that marshmallow new revised version.
Exactly.
So we know these things are happening. What are we going to do about it? Well, Ms. Raquel, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Looking forward to our discussion. Next month we talk about No.
I mean, the core behavioral things are always there and they're important. But
yeah. All right. Well, thanks again. Any final thoughts?
Thank you.
Dr. Bordeaux, Ms. Raquel, if you want to share quickly, as we tell Paul, hold tight. Ms. Raquel, anything else you want to share before we go?
No, just if you do need services, you can find us at infiniteMindCare.com. And I hope that this was beneficial for everybody today.
And Dr. Borden, drborden.com. On course,
so there'll be more information at drborden.com. We've got links to Infinite Mind Care, Mr. Raquel, as well on our Instagram and Facebook as well.
Well, thank you all very much, and to all of the healthcare professionals. But for us who encourage others to recognize that we look after our health and well-being, from their physical to financial to our mental, and it's so crucial. So thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, when we come back from the break, former parliamentarian Mr. Ezra Miller will join us. We'll be talking about a number of things, including something he has with his church and some others. So join us after the break.
It's game time, Subway fans. We're upping our sub game with the Subway Series menu, an all-star lineup of 6 delicious recipes. Just order by name or number and we'll do the rest. Whether you're catching a quick lunch or just need a tasty victory, the Subway Series menu is coming in clutch. Subway Series, easy to order, hard to resist. Try it today, only at Subway. Eat fresh.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Just in time for summer, it's the sizzling hot appliance sale at Brand Source Home Gallery. Save 25% off all appliances now until the end of June. That's 25% off on all appliances at Brand Source. Don't miss this opportunity to replace aging appliances and get 1 year plus warranty on new appliances. The sizzling hot appliance sale now until the end of June at Brand Source, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for details.
Sports. Stay up to date on your sports news with Radio Cayman Monday through Friday at 7 a.m., 6 p.m., and 10 p.m. It's all about sports.
Your sports news is brought to you by Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Village. What's up your prescription refills at 929-5045.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And as a gentleman who understands the importance of that ethos that's been inculcated in the Caymanians, when we say, Cayman time, it means that what that is say, if you're on time, you're late. So, Mr. Miller, I know we scheduled for 1:30. I know you've been there for more than half an hour now. So.
At least.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for honoring and respecting that time is that commodity that no matter how much money we have, we can't buy it in a second. Thanks for joining us, sir, making yourself available.
But the only bad thing about time, and that's what's behind you, can't be recovered.
You can't I tell you about it. Rewind the hands of time, huh?
One of my favorite subjects in postgraduate school was time management,
Mm-hmm.
And we all say we're busy, don't care what, what my grandmother used to tell me, if you want something done, give it to the busiest person in the room. There's a good reason why the mother fools ain't doing nothing. Right? You'd be amazed if we decides to find time to do anything, how easy it is to find,
We make time for that thing we want to do, huh?
Yeah, I used to tell people when they tell me, "Oh, you're so busy." I said, "Well, here's what you do for me. In 15-minute sections, write down what you have done this morning between 8 and 12. Some people make it till 9 or 10 o'clock, and then they run out of time because they're doing the same things over and over, and telephone is one of the biggest time wasters in the world. But
I think there are people, too, who, in that concept of time management, they'll block out it, and they spend so much time going through a process that they're not effective, and then they're pressuring themselves so that to-do list, is never done.
Yeah.
But we have to value and respect it, right?
Yeah, and I mean, you can talk about doing something forever and ever,
Mm-hmm.
It don't get done until you actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are few people who really know how to get things done in a kind of effective and efficient way.
I guess that's when they talk about delegation. You have to not only delegate the level of responsibility for its achievement, but also the authority to do it. And then you gotta have the confidence and the trust in the person or the people that you've delegated to.
Yeah.
And this is why, with you being here and every opportunity, I want to value and respect your time, but benefit from it, because you can share immensely in your still 10 years of life. So
yeah, I was seeing a few moons. I'll be 72 come next month, 14 next month. So I've been around for a while.
Yeah, still young. Man.
Some with good, some with bad, some with in between. But all in all, from my point of view, I've had an exceptionally good life. So.
Well, if it's appropriate, I hope you don't mind. My prayers that God will grant you, continued health, for a long life filled with much reward and fulfillment.
So far, he's probably been better to me than I deserve.
You too.
Like I said, I'll be 72 next month. I don't take any medication for anything at this point in time. I'm probably 50 to 75 pounds overweight, but all of the important things are okay. So.
You know what I think? It's not that you're overweight; you're just underweight.
But that's true too. Yeah. But
if you're 10 feet tall, you'll be okay.
But I'm blessed with a good appetite, so
Well, Mama say no apple slack.
No.
All right. So while you're here, I know there's some things that you want to share with us, and if you have the time and you would allow us, and I say this only from the genuine intent, still learn. A person who's traveled somewhere can tell you about the experience. A person who's experienced something could tell you, well, you know what, I did this. Don't try that because it doesn't work, or this wasn't a bad outcome. You've seen a few things both from the political arena as well as generally, and we would like, if possible, to get your comments. But let's start where you wish, and I know you, like many of the community.
But why I called is because I'm a member of the William Puchet Memorial Church all my life. I grew up in the era when people like me also had to be members of Women's Guild, because Mom was going to Women's Guild, you had to go.
You had to go.
Right? Christian Endeavor. But I credit the church and Christian Endeavor with all of that's where I learned all of my public speaking, whether it's good or bad. But, we used to have a garden party on the 26th of December every year from as far back as I could remember. And that was basically the biggest fundraiser for the church for the whole year, and that has been discontinued and not as successful as it used to be. So we were looking around for something to try and replace that with, So I came up with this bright idea that we could have a roasting of Ezard, right? Come laugh for a cause, right? And the idea being that, I'm sure that the 20 years I spent around the political field, 40 years and all, 20 years actually as an MP, there are people out there who have been longing to say something bad and something funny about me. So I thought I would give it a go. When I was discussing it with my family, I was quite taken aback actually, because my 9-year-old said, "But Daddy, you know they're gonna say bad things about you." I didn't believe she didn't figure she would know anything about what a roasting was to start with.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was quite quick. So I'm glad I was in a position to do that, which has been part of my modus operandi. I say, yeah, that's true, sweetheart. That's the whole idea, is saying funny things and bad things about me. But you can rest assured they can't say anything illegal or unethical about your daddy. So you can come to the thing and enjoy the laughs yourself, right?
Yeah.
And that's a good feeling. But, you know, so I decided then to call up some friends and see if they would be willing to roast me. So I've come up with a pretty good lineup, I believe. Right?
Some political and otherwise, huh?
Well, I tried to get from both sides, you know.
Yeah.
Of the thing, you know. But I'm like the old country song, and the older I get, the fewer friends I have, right? So, but the list I think it's a good list. The lawyer, Mr. Lloyd Sampson, has agreed to be the MC. And the names that will be doing the roasting are Edenton Powell, Leonard Ebanks, Sir Alden McLaughlin, Johan Moxham, Joy Basdeo, Arden McLean, Dr. Sidney Ebanks, Harris McCoy, Kurt Tibbetts, Greg Anderson, Chris Saunders, and Dr. Jenny Allen. So I think that's I got 2 family members in it. Miss Basdeo I worked with in the civil service for the years I was in cabinet, and we got along really well. And the rest is a sprinkling from private sector life and thing.
Yeah, and the cause is good in the fact that you'll be willing to sort of, you know, put yourself on the spec for a second. Yeah.
And, you know, we're trying to sell tickets for $100, but it includes sumptuous buffet, which comes out to about $60. So if I manage to sell $100, I hope to raise $40 per ticket. That's be about $4,000 to the church.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be.
When is this event?
It's on the 12th of July, Friday the 12th of July, at 7 p.m. at the Georgetown Yacht Club. So
good venue. Friday the 12th.
Yep, and they really put on a really nice buffet, and you know, we're not like some of the buffets around. You won't be limited to one time. You can go and make up. You can really enjoy yourself.
This is where that £60 coming
right,
out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you know, I think even if the jokes about me are not worth it, the meal will be worth it to come as a family or whatever. So.
And as you shared, I'm thinking back to in the U.S. the press club having you know, they've got either the current president or the presidential hopefuls. There's someone who's making a comment, and the art of saying something about someone in a way that's not malicious, but you have a chance to, you know, take a shot at them in a way. It speaks to the, you know, the intellect of some people. You know,
I mean, you know, it's most of the times it's funny. It's not really a toast, because it's a little. It usually is normally a little bit meaner. Not a toast. It is not as complimentary as a toast, but the whole idea is that it's kind of funny and factual. Yeah. You know, the only thing that's off limits is my wife and 2 daughters.
Family, yeah.
Right. Me, you can say anything about. You know.
Let me put you in a spot.
Yeah.
If you were roasting yourself, so you step outside and you had to do it, what would be some of the things that you would say?
Well, you know, I have always believed I was never a politician that relied on popularity to get reelected. So I was and I still am, a hard taskmaster. You know, I like to get things done, but I like to get things done the right way, the ethical way, the honest way. You know, and I don't have a problem delegating, but I monitor the delegation, so I can be kind of miserable, right? And I don't think, I think if you went around Cayman and asked 100 people, do you love or like Ezra Miller? Probably 98 or 99 can say no. But if you ask them, do you respect Ezra Miller? I think they'd be the 90 or 90 would be saying yes. And that was all through my political life. My goal was not to be the most popular politician on the island, but to be the most respected politician. The person that did not duck a question, did not refuse to answer a question, and answered it as credible as I could and as accurate as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a position. Lots of times my position was not the popular position, and sometimes it was not even the right position. But I was always prepared after doing my analysis to take a position. So I think that,
Well, with that, if we can, we'll talk more about the event, how we can get tickets, and it's for a good cause, but it's an opportunity to sort of, many of us need to stand in the gap in many ways, and this is your offering. How can I be of continued service? I was thinking about the roast and the toast. I was thinking what Miss Susan has said one time. She said her grandmother didn't say that, she was a glutton. Her grandmother said, boy, you're not far from food. So, doesn't matter how you say it.
Right.
When we come back, can we talk about that political, sort of mindset that you have? You're going to take a position, you're going to do your analysis, and, you stand in the gap, and then let's talk about the event, and maybe we can ask you some other things that maybe happen.
Yeah.
That'd be fine?
Yeah.
All right. I'll put it out there now if it's okay. You've been a champion about legislation, accountability, openness, transparency, the idea that legislation should be in the public domain for people to comment on. The national conservation could be, if time allows, maybe ask about that a little bit.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time on the national conservation law. The current law, I filed 32 amendments and got 30 approved. So
right. Understanding that from the Hansard, so maybe we could talk. Well, if you're going to benefit from someone who has something to offer, here's a good time to do so, and it's only going to cost you a few minutes of your time, so stay tuned.
Summer's heating up, and so are the good times. Whether you are out on the water, enjoying the beach, or gathering with colleagues for an office bash, make it a feast to remember with Subway. From assorted sandwich platters to mouth-watering cookies, our catering menu has something for everyone. Perfect for groups of 5 or more. For food that's fresh, fast, and perfect for any occasion, choose Subway Catering. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
The hurricane season is here. Are you ready? Now is the time to prepare. Follow the Water Authority on social media for important announcements and survival tips throughout the hurricane season. You can download free preparedness brochures from the Water Authority's website, www.waterauthority.ky. Be aware, be safe, be prepared.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Are you ready to step into the future? Digicell's super-fast 5G network is here. Experience more lightning-fast speeds, more seamless connectivity, and more possibilities. Available with all Digicell bundles. Whether you're streaming, gaming, or working, our 5G technology takes your experience to a whole new level. The future is here. Visit any of our stores today and join Cayman's super-fast 5G network. Digicell. Better connected.
This is Sherry Ebanks, and I work in the financial services sector. I am concerned about how climate change is affecting our beautiful beaches. Sea level rise and changing wind patterns are worsening the erosion of our beaches, and warmer temperatures are causing more sargassum to reach our shores. When our beaches are degraded, our tourism sector and the livelihoods of Caymanians are put in jeopardy. To learn more about the climate risks to our islands, visit www.gov.ky/climate change policy.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, K-Man?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us, and thanks again to Mr. Ezra Miller. You have consistently, very publicly shared we need to have more civics education, more understanding of the operations of our parliament, as we call it now. And I'm not saying that with contempt. I just find being encouraged by Mr. O.C. on a number of occasions when he says, we now call it, parliament, we now call it MPs, fittingly, but it's more of a name as opposed to anything substantive. For those of us who don't know, is that an accurate?
Well, I think that it certainly moves the Constitution and the terminology into the modern era.
Okay.
It does it and the 2009 Constitution advanced our authority far enough that I believe we could have been called a parliament from then. And certainly the things that we renegotiated in 2019, the last set of amendments that Alden and I went to England on, those again advanced us enough in terms of the devolution of authority to the political directorate.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had gotten the UK government to agree to remove that whole section of forming its own legislation and all that sort of stuff. But again, it is don't care what kind of constitution you have and what you call it. If the players in it are not in it for the right reasons and don't function the way the parliament was designed, I believe that we have successful political directorates have eroded the authority of parliament over the last decade. Far more than I'd like to have seen it in a decade. But again, that's because of the players involved, right? There was no need to erode the authority of Parliament. I mean, I tell people that, I'm either, you heard me say this many times, I'm either cursed or blessed. When I served from 84 to 92, I served with people who were more on the statesman side of politics, as to the political and the populist idea of politics. But from when I got reelected in 2009, when you sit around the tables in the lunchroom, the conversation was rather shocking and disappointing to me post 2009. Because when I served before, while we had the Bensonites and you had the Jim Bordenites, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we would disagree vehemently on policy on the floor of the assembly. But when we went into our little lunchroom, the conversation was all about what was best for Cayman, and that's what we did. And we were quite willing, both sides were quite willing to give compromises in there. My disappointment at post-2009, the conversation seems to be more driven by what's in it for me, what's in it for the party, and well, yeah, Cayman might benefit, And I was disappointed that I'd never ever found, which is why I never rejoined any of the two groups, because I didn't find that commitment to country and people that because the other political mantra that my whole political life was based on was participation. I'm a strong advocate, and always have been, for participatory democracy. I have always believed that the people I was elected to represent had an inherent right to know what I was doing on their behalf.
Mm-hmm.
And every policy that I did when I was a minister, I went to every civic centre in Ireland and discussed it prior to finalising it. And oftentimes I got some of the best advice from the most unlikely sources out in those debates. And as a representative on our side, I held meetings before Assembly and after Assembly for the duration of my tenure, because I believe those people. Now, if I advertise a meeting and only two people come, I still at the meeting, right? if I advertise it and 100 come, I still had the meeting. Because I thought it was my responsibility to have the meeting, right? And you know, what that afforded me was preparation. Because I couldn't go to those meetings, right, and not prepare on each piece of legislation or motion that was coming towards the Parliament, right? So that is why by the time I got down to the LA, I was always prepared to debate any subject.
Yeah. Mr. Miller, we have a caller joining us, sir.
Sure.
And we're speaking to Mr. Ezra Miller. Always glad for his company. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Dwayne. Good afternoon, Honorable Mr. Ezra. How are you?
Yeah, just Ezra now, though. That honorable, that gone a long time. I mean, I still believe I'm an honorable person, but you don't have to put that before my name now anymore. I'm just Ezra now.
So you're not honorable no more?
Yeah, I'm still an honorable person, but you don't have to put that political title that runs around here, HON, full stop, before my name anymore.
We said honorable. We said I call it Mr. Rank my name.
Huh?
Lord Graham. We said Lord Graham.
Yeah, that's okay.
You can see why you can't be honorable Ezra Miller. So it's not right? And anyhow, I don't know. I didn't catch the beginning of it, so I didn't hear where you started talking. So I don't know if you're talking on a particular topic, but I have a question that I would like for you to clarify for the people out there, if you can clarify to me, regarding the medical board, regarding internship back at the hospital. Can you tell me what the policy, or let's tell the public the policy that Cayman Islands government is now holding and has been there for, I guess, 10 months. I don't know how many decades it was, though, or when it changed it, about coming back, children coming back to practice at the Georgetown Hospital for internship.
Well, it used to be that...
But can you, I'll get off the air and listen to you, so please highlight me. So
I'll try, but I know I'm not 100% know what the exact position right now, but I'll try to follow the history through, right?
Okay, sir, thank you.
When we first were sending people off to like the University of the West Indies to do medicine, and they finished their 7 years, right? They came back and registered, and they were free to practice medicine. In the later years, because of the numbers of persons who were studying medicine, particularly at the University of the West Indies, it was difficult to find places for them to do, I think the term they use is clerkships, where you do orthopedics. All you walk around and you do clinical side of your medicine. You do 3 years of theory, and then you do the other 3 years of...
So residency or something
like that. Right, and it was difficult to find spaces for that. So I know that the hospital tried to put in...
Since
something to do with being able to do some of the residencies here, which I was opposed to because I didn't think that Caymanians were going to get the learning opportunities simply because of the frequency of illness. And I had discussions with Dr. Jefferson, and we came to we agreed that they would do some stuff here, but they were also going to be sent back off to places like the Nassau, Bahamas was one I know that they went, where they could get more experience and other stuff, right? And then they could go on and do get their stuff and then get registered at that point. So I believe that program is still in place, but it is still better in my view that we should be sending our students to Canada and UK, excuse me, and places like that where they can get these opportunities to do the kind of clinical training that they need.
Okay. Again, this is where people see, and value and respect not only your expertise, but your willingness to share from a consumer perspective. If you have time, Mr. Miller, when you come back, you can tell us more about the event. If we can get tickets, we can talk more about, some of the political landscape.
Okay.
All right. Join us after the break.
Since 1976.
Covering Grand Cayman, no Cayman, Cayman right. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins. On Wednesday, June 26th, the Cayman Islands government will officially open its Asia office to establish and deepen strong public and private sector relations throughout the region. Deputy Premier and Minister for Financial Services and Commerce, the Honourable Andre M. Ebanks MP, the ministry's Chief Officer Dr. Dax Basteo, and Government's Deputy Representative for Financial Services to Europe, Julie Campbell, will travel this weekend to attend the commemorative reception at Swissôtel the Stamford in Singapore. In international news, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission has referred a complaint against TikTok and its Chinese parent company ByteDance over potential violations of children's privacy to the Department of Justice. The FTC says its own investigation uncovered reason to believe that the firms are violating or about to violate the law. In a statement to BBC News, a TikTok spokesperson said they were disappointed by the decision. A mysterious monolith has appeared in the Nevada desert over the weekend, sparking speculation as to what it may be and who is behind it. The structure was spotted by the Las Vegas Police Department, who said they saw it during a search and rescue mission north of the Las Vegas Valley. The monolith is similar to other similarly puzzling ones that appeared around the globe in 2020. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Zollins.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Cayman Islands, your input can shape our future. Plan Cayman needs your input on the updated planning statement to create a sustainable community for everyone. Help shape Cayman's future by participating in public consultations with the Central Planning Authority and the Ministries for Planning and Sustainability. Together, we can build a thriving Cayman. For details and to find the meeting closest to you, visit plancayman.ky. Your voice matters. Let's plan Cayman together.
Radio Cayman Talk Today continues.
Hey, welcome back, and thanks very much for the opportunity to sit and facilitate and to be able to engage, and for me to be educated, as you know, the education runs beyond my personal benefit in the good company of Mr. Ezra Miller. I reflect on the caller's question just prior, and understanding that many of us, not sir because of your years of experience, but your expertise, as you shared in the political arena, you were willing to take a position, accept sort of accountability for it. Maybe that bodes well. What do you call it? Roasting Ezra?
Yeah.
For your church. You're a brave man, sir.
If I believed in something, I was not ashamed to go and take it on.
Yeah.
And getting back to the call-up,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a disgrace, really, that young Caymanian physicians are not being better facilitated to go off and get their board certification.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for it. We got the money. I finally eventually got finance committee to agree to put $500,000 in an education fund specifically for board certification. And while we have problems with University of the West Indies now simply because of a space thing, a lot of the Caribbean countries have agreements with the Canadian government that you send people up there and they give you special rates and all that. I'm aware of, and I don't want to call it names because I don't have any border permission, and I don't do that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
But I'm aware of one Caymanian who was quite willing to facilitate sending and assisting to send people to Canada to get their board certification in various specialties, and was of the view that all the government here would have to do was to arrange some kind of stipend from which they could pay their rent and live and everything else. The whole education process would be basically free, sponsored by the Canadian government. And there were no takers. But, you know, and like I say something, I could probably get in a lot of trouble, but this is desert. I think what's happening now is that the doctors who we made Caymanian in order to get Caymanian doctors are now beginning to put hurdles similar to what the lawyers did with the legal qualifications and legal opportunities for Caymanians. And we need to dig up into this thing, and we need to sort it out and make sure that Caymanians who want to do medicine are not just funded to their MBBS level, but they are funded to the board certification, and encourage them once they get their board certification and some experience to come back to Cayman. We have quite a few Caymanians qualified in various specialties, you know, who are out there in the world who Cayman could do well to attract them.
You know, Mr. This is where I think men at the end of the day, as you shared it, if they ask, you know, do they respect you? This is why you take a position from a considered perspective, and you share it, and you stand behind it, and you know, not unwavering, but then you're not, you know, in wanting to share more about that. Let's invite this next caller to the conversation. We're speaking to Mr. Ezra Miller. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Yes, Mr. Miller, this is the same caller.
Okay.
Welcome back.
I want to thank you here. That I want to thank you for those comments, because that's how my opinion feels too. That the people that have now become Caymanians or Caymanian doctors are putting hurdles in the way for our Caymanians not to come ahead. And that's just my opinion. And I hope that, like you said, I hope the government will look into it, or somebody look into it that is in the benefit of Caymanians, because we need Caymanians, and we got generation Caymanians, not just one, but we got generation Caymanians that want to be doctors, but hurdles are put in their way that they can't go no further.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and I think we need to stop this. Stop it, nip the bud.
Yeah. Well, I hope that the people that the people that need to listen is listening to you guys, because that is my opinion of it too. And we need somebody with the balls to go in and say this is enough, and we can see where the hurdles is at.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
I guess, Mr. This is where many people look to you both as, do I still refer to you as a parliamentarian? I mean, that's how I would see it. So you guide me that I understand the protocols. But that courage to say, listen, as the caller is sharing, we want to make sure that there is the opportunity for training, as you shared, and beyond, so that they have the credentials.
I am, and I'm aware of a couple of instances. I'm particularly aware again of a particular person in dentistry who's been trying to get registered here and being given an unholy runaround every time the person meets the criteria. They set something else and they come out with some other piece of garbage, right? And the law is clear. The law says if you are a physician and you graduate from University of the West Indies, you shall be registered, you know. But this person is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, but because the people that we bring here give them status, and then we kick people, Caymanians, who have the cojones to enforce the health practitioners' licensing requirements. We kick them off the board, and we put the foreigners that we bring in and get Cayman status on it, and then they look out for each other. Don't expect them to look out for us, you know.
So with that, Mr. Loy, and medicine, education, I think are the pillars in a society. With what you share, what do we do about that?
Well, I think that we that people need to find a way to voice their concerns in a voice of honesty and integrity, not just a rumor type stuff where you're looking for excitement and glamour and to make something attractive. And we need to get the pressure the bodies in government to get them involved. I mean, for instance, the board of the HSA. When last did you see them advocating for Caymanians to be physicians or doctors or nurses or physiotherapists or anything else? Right? I mean, they know what their manpower needs are. They know exactly, or if they're not, they should know. I'm going to put it this way because they might know.
Mm-hmm.
But the board, particularly the chairman and others, should know exactly how many permits they have in every specialty that's there. And they should be taking their time to go to places like Clifton High School and John Gray High School and the other Catholic High School, the Triple C School, all the big high schools, and deliberately recruit people to go and fill the specialists that they need. When I was in high school, that's how it was, right? Government had a list of scholarships that was tied directly to government needs. Government gave you a scholarship, you went off. Before you left, you signed a bond, depending how long it was. 6 years. I had to do 6 years for a 3-year course, or 3 years, or whatever it was you had to do. But when you came back, one, you were guaranteed a job. You had the opportunity to get experience, right? But we hear this private sector driven foolishness about, you got a qualification and we don't have experience, right? And one of the worst things that happened here was when government stopped insisting that the scholarships that they gave had jobs in government. If they were going to do that, instead of leaving it open, they should have insisted that if you had work permit for that, for anybody on that category of work, you had to give a scholarship person a job when they came back. But we are so scared of acting in Cayman interests because, and I can understand why, because we're so outnumbered now.
You can understand it. Maybe you
don't have the power anymore.
Explain it to the rest of us who don't accept it. But with that in mind, you talk about the boards. Isn't it us who are appointing and are appointed to the boards? We're making the appointment.
Exactly. And again, we had the Public Authorities Law, so they call it, Public Authorities Act, which is supposed to say how these things are supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
But I would have as a guess today that there's not a single government board that is operating in full compliance with that law, right? But we pass laws, but then we don't insist that they be implemented. And if we implement them and there's an issue, we don't correct it and get it on,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no evaluation, right, of whether the law is effective or not.
Okay. We do have another caller, Ms. Desert. As we go to the phones, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Hey, good afternoon, Sterling, to you and your guest, Mr. Desert.
And to
you. Have a ticket you want?
He want 10, man. He want table for 10.
Tears in your eye.
Hello. And I can test my humor. I don't know what I would do.
I tell you, man. I mean, you buy a table for 10, man. I have 10 and you pay.
Yeah. That works. Because they'll all get some good laughs at the end.
There you go.
I'm quite sure. I just want to use a few minutes of your time and mine and as well. Mr. Ezard, thank you for being on the radio, and it's always so much a pleasure of hearing someone, of your caliber come on and, address the people of the Cayman Islands, since we are, I think, now the minority almost, as you sort of mumbled there, no?
No, boy, no, we are.
We are. And
we're a small minority now, too.
But, with that said, and then you yourself know that some changes can still be made to almost hopefully put that play in some kind of reverse. But I just wanted to, address, because I know you were talking about the HSA, where they're obviously training young Caymanians from the level of high school, pretty much nipping it in the bud. And I just wanted to add to that I think that should be something that is for all of these professional careers that we have here, especially even those that don't require any kind of a certification, you should say, and upwards, because we find it right now where we had a big construction bloom, and of course we didn't have the, again, numbers to add to that, but I'm quite sure there were a lot of Caymanians who, if were trained, would have taken advantage of it and so forth, but it happened on the COVID, etc.
Yeah.
But I just want to call to add.
Hello?
Yeah, hello? Yeah.
He must have dropped the mic.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I agree with him. And you see, constructions again, and I'm old enough to remember when, right? But I remember when you could leave high school and you could go to McAlpine and get a job as a laborer, right? And you could learn skills. They would hire you as a laborer, and maybe if you helping somebody, they were doing masonry work. You might get the first job might be back in the blocks, and then after a while you graduate to driving a wheelbarrow, and then the man show you how to put the cement on the blocks. Then he explain to you how to line it up with a string that's there and what the string means, etc. So you learn, and you could have a career there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not possible anymore now, because all the big construction companies seem to be doing now is subletting everything. And the subletting is again not offering opportunities for Caymanians to really get in the industry.
But in respect to construction, as you shared that, I'm minded of a conversation again I've had just in the last few days. A lot of the people who are on work permit in construction, from the labor and otherwise, A, the quality of workmanship is questionable, and B, their skill set, their ability, their qualification, they don't have that. Maybe what explains that the poor workmanship.
And I don't think that. I think it is truth to say that the kind of labor we're importing now in the construction industry is certainly not the kind of labor that we brought in here in the 70s and 80s and 90s, which were skilled people who taught Caymanian skill. These people coming in now, you got to teach them. And I can only go. I can say what little bit of construction I do. I know what the interaction I have with people who come by my place looking for work.
Yeah.
He tells you he's a carpenter, and you give him the hammer, and from the time he grab it out your hand, the way he hold it, he's no carpenter, right?
but this is it. I mean, one contractor was
But they can do everything and anything.
Yeah, he was trying to get someone to. Anyway, Mr. Carl, do we have the final break, and then Mr. Miller?
Okay.
All right. Please join us after.
You know who this is? That same old girl that went to Hollywood and Panama? Well, guess what? The fun ain't done yet, because this year, I'm going to country concerts in Denver. I got kick up my heels in Times Square. I got keep living the dream with Cayman Airways. We so blessed to have them. I tell you what though, this old girl's feeling younger than ever.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering international non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, Kingston, Mobay, La Ceiba, and Havana. Enjoy free rum punch, free in-flight entertainment, free seat selection, and free meals on select flights. Call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Attend
Attention parents and guardians. Registration for Cayman Islands government schools for the 2024 to 2025 academic year closes on June 30th. By law, all children turning 5 by August 31st must be enrolled in an approved government, private, or homeschooling program. Don't miss out. Visit schools.edu.ky/registration to learn more and secure a spot for your child today. This message is brought to you from the Department of Education Services.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And thanks, too, to Mr. Ezra Miller for sharing with us. We had a chance to not only talk about roasting Ezra at the Georgetown Yacht Club on Friday, the 12th of July.
Yep.
Well, what time?
7 p.m. 7 p.m.
So it's a Friday, 7 p.m., July the 12th. Where can we get tickets?
I have tickets. My number, if you don't know it, well, you must be living in a strange land. 327-5757. Call me. And if you're buying 2 tickets or more, I'll drive to your house, whatever part of the island is, and bring them for you.
All right. And it's a fundraiser for your...
Yeah, it's for the
William
Poocham Memorial Church in Northside.
Okay.
And, it's a roastal banquet in which the guest of honor, which will be me, is subject to good-natured ridicule, made fun of,
Now, just in case we're on the show, what would be the expected dress?
Just smart casual.
Yeah, so a nice long T-shirt for the men.
Yeah.
If you want to put on a sport coat, you can.
Exactly. I mean,
it's not a Black Friday event.
If I can turn this into an annual event, not an annual event of roasting Ezra, but an annual event of having a roast for the church, we will step it up as we go along.
I mean, all right. Well, you know what? If there's food and laughter.
And I think and like I say, I'm sure people would love to hear what Sir Alden and Kurt has to say about me and my political arena, and also I also got good people on, or powerful people on, like Dr. Dwayne Ebanks, who can carry a line, and I'm sure he'll have a few choice words to say.
Be prepared. I'm told, sir, that we have a call. Hey, welcome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Hey, how are you, man? How are you? How's the country song and the painting coming along?
Doing good, I try my best to do it as traditional as possible, kind of really that heritage.
And there you go, man. There you go.
And afternoon, Mr. Ezra.
Afternoon.
Speaking about the education, cause I was listening to the program on the radio, on my little drive, right? But
okay.
I was thinking to myself, like, how much of a failure they have us setting up. They're setting us up for failure as Caymanians. Like, I'm 31 years old. I went to school here in this island, government school. Started from Red Bay, went to West Bay Primary, and then George Hicks and John Gray. And I graduated 2010. But I can remember high school. The first 2 years was the most difficult years, year 10 and 11. And in year 11, they had this thing. I don't know if they still do it, but they have this work experience program. And during work experience, I think the biggest failure they have is the teachers. Because when I was going to school, the teachers would ask you, what job would you like to do for job experience? And I think that was the worst question that they could ask, because it's not exactly what they want to give you. Because I wanted to be a marine biologist, and I studied whatever I could study. I picked all the classes that I could pick. And then just because I picked one class that was out of the criteria of being a marine biologist, you had to pick this one job, which wasn't in my idea, my field. I didn't want to be a chef, but because I picked catering, I had to pick a job in the field of catering. And I was like, hold on. I said I want to join Department of Environment so I could study something with the marine and do the environment, because I love the environment. I actually still do reef aquariums. I still grow corals and take care of the crustaceans and the fish and all of the above, the plants, the everything having to do with the marine life. I can do that with my eyes closed. And the thing is about it, right? When they told me that I can't do that, it literally devoured the intentions of me wanting to be a marine biologist. And it was either two options I had, catering or mechanics. And you know what? I literally settled with a job when I came out of school with exactly what I didn't want to do when I came out, which was painting cars and boats. I can professionally paint cars and boats. I've been doing that for like 13 years now. And I can tell you what I've learned from this is that they set the children up. The foreign teachers that we have here, I don't want to specify no nationalities, but the foreign teachers that we have here, they discourage the young Caymanians to do exactly what they want to do. And I don't think it's right. I actually think that they should, it's a crime, I believe, to discourage children from doing what they desire to do when they get older. Because I even if I had the option, the guidance to say, let's get into politics, I want to be a lawyer or something like that, that wasn't an option when I was in school. That literally was not an option. So I think that's where they set us up to fail as Caymanians. They don't really give us the right guidance towards what we want. They don't ask us the question. They give us our own option, and then they hope and pray that you don't pick the right one. That's how I see it. They hope and pray that you don't pick the right one. I remember when I was in school, maybe I might have been a troublemaker because back then there was a lot of bullies in school and you had to fend for yourself, because if you tell the teachers that child might that kid might probably want to come back after you or something, so you had to punch him square in the face to make him know what's going on. But you see what happened, right? They tend to pick and choose who they want to be successful. Thank God that I had a teacher in the school that told me about junior achievement, and I end up picking up and being my own business. But that does not stray me away from wanting to be a marine biologist. But now, at my age, to try to get a job in the government and the qualifications and the experience, they didn't give me when I was in school. So how is it that we are going to set us up to do something good, and then telling us now that we're going to give you scholarships and things like that, when all these children want to do now is technology, jobs with technology? They don't want to sit around. I mean, they don't want to go out and do hard labor work no more. They want to sit, literally buy office supplies and do their thing.
Yeah, man.
And I find that a big problem that they set us up from way, way, way back. Then it cannot be fixed right now. But it still could happen if we can get out a lot of these foreign teachers and get some Caymanian teachers that are encouraged to bring up a lot of Caymanian people.
Thanks for sharing.
The right way.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Miller, in that, I mean, the caller is...
No, he's right on. He's right on. I mean, you know, but my bigger concern right now is that level of growing frustration in the young people. And, you know, there was a time in Cayman when Caymanians had a smorgasbord of jobs. If you left one job today, you have another job by tomorrow. It's not that way anymore. Because the people who are making the decisions as to who get the jobs are not Caymanian. And Caymanians are being jerked around, pushed around, and eliminated in very subtle ways, you know, very subtle ways. But they're being moved out of the stream. And even if they get in the stream, they have to be better than anybody else. And I mean, the biggest joke in town is the government succession planning. You know, you can act in a position half a dozen times. Get a good report, an excellent report of doing a job well acted, right? When it comes time that the person is finally vacating through retirement or otherwise, and it is time for you to get a job, they have this stupidity that you have to compete with the world to get a job, right? I mean, you've been doing a job. You know, if we had real successful planning, the person would know that because you have acted successfully on a number of occasions, when this job becomes vacant, it is your job if you continue to perform at this level, you know? Yeah. But it is the most ridiculous thing under the sun.
Yeah. I want to, recognizing that we didn't get to ask, I will invite you back again to talk about, you know, the political landscape. But one of our listeners, in relation to the event on the 12th, you said, at 7 p.m., July the 12th at the Yacht Club, one is asking, you know, please repeat the number for the tickets and what is on the menu.
Right. I got turned on my phone, tell it was on the menu, but it's a lot of stuff.
Food, I'm pretty sure.
Plenty of it. Plenty of it.
So 7 p.m. July 12th, Georgetown Yacht Club, Roast and Hazard.
And the price is $100 per ticket, and that includes a $6 meal.
Okay. And the fund proceeds in aid of the work of the...
For the the William Pucci Memorial Church in Northside. In that little hamlet of Northside where I grew up, you know.
I like how you call it, little hamlet.
Yeah.
All right, and...
we did Donna's state funeral. You know, they said Donna was born in Northside. Donna was born in the little hamlet of Cotton Peace, which is part of the Hotland Village. This is another thing that bothers me. And all these little names are just disappearing and out of the, you know?
Yeah. And I'm glad you...
I try to preserve some of them Northside, but I see all the bad boys are knocking them all down and nobody's doing anything about them.
It's across the country, sir. I mean, we're allowing much to be, disrespected and discarded, and now we're denying our...
Okay, you want to know what's in the menu?
Yeah.
Okay. Potato salad, coleslaw, rice and beans, mixed greens, pasta salad, seafood salad, red bean soup, prime rib carving, jerk chicken, barbecued ribs, Cayman-style snapper, conch rundown. I guess that's not conch stew, I guess. Oxtail stew.
But they should say that then.
Plantains, Johnny cake, corn on the cob, parsley potatoes, mac and cheese, and dessert, the chef will do something. So you ought to be able to get a belly full of that. Right?
At 56 pounds.
You probably have a rough day the next day or getting into sleep that night because some of these things don't fit good together.
It's a Friday night, right?
But it's plenty of food. Yeah, you don't have to go to work Saturday.
All right.
But it's going to be good food and it's going to be good entertainment. And I really need people to call me. The number to call is 327-5757 and buy me up some tickets.
All right. And really appreciate you sharing. I'm prayerful that there'll be an exceptional response. Today is whatever date is in June. We know Monday coming is a holiday. So we got this week and next week and then the week following. All right?
Yep. If you see me sitting down in front of the supermarket, that's what I'm trying to do. Sell some tickets or come and buy one. Or two or three or four. The more you buy, the shorter time I need to be there. Because it's an exclusive thing, We're only selling 100 tickets.
Yeah.
If you happen to be the 101 person, you mightn't get a ticket.
It just depends,
Yep.
So you got to know a guy.
Yep.
All right. Georgetown Yacht Club, the 12th. If your schedule allows, hopefully between now while we're talking about some of the things, we want to bring you back in with or without anybody else.
Call me when you're ready.
And we can chat more.
Yeah.
I didn't want to take too much away from it because I like the fact that you're willing to continue to offer yourself a service. And like many in your community, you've been actively involved with your church. Probably like some of us as children, we had to go. Thankfully now as adults, we still do.
The era in which I grew up in, had no TV, had no tablet, had no smartphone. Church with Christian Endeavor and church was the place to go to get entertainment.
Someone messaged me and said, these days we give the child a tablet. Back in this day, you gave the child Paragard.
Yeah.
If you don't know what that is, ask your mama.
You're not young anymore.
Somebody says, Miss Edward, is feeling a battalion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, sir, and we'll do our best.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure to.
And of course, Mr. Sterling will buy a ticket from me, so I got his ticket right here now.
He wants more. He wants more than one.
You want two?
Oh, sir, I think he needs 3 more. So.
You want 4 for 2?
Wait till we got fair now, cheese.
No. You see, if we selling them money, I'm hoping that the people will be lined up outside the door now.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah. 4 por favor.
When I go to the door now, I'm hoping they're all lined up out there in the parking lot waiting to get these tickets,
All right, so the 12th of July, 7 p.m.
12th of July, yeah.
The Georgetown Yacht Club.
Listen to me, all of you Ezra haters out there. Here's a good opportunity to come and hear some funny and bad things about me. And maybe you can even tell some of the roasters before they go up some bad things that you know.
This is exactly what I'm getting at. I didn't want to take them on air because people say, you want to hear the bad things that we say about Ezra. But since you said Dr. Sidney, is going to be there, we know it's going to be... he has the gift, I think, that would be akin to Winston Churchill, who would be able to say something in a way that... what's it? Art of diplomacy is telling you to go to hell and you asking for directions.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Miller. And we'll hopefully arrange for you to come back on, talk about the EIA, the East-West Arterial.
Yep.
All right.
And the National Conservation Law.
All right. That is key.
Yep.
Well, thank you all very much. Thanks again for this opportunity. It's only Monday. And man, we're not even into July yet. So, goodness gracious, who knows what tomorrow will bring. Prayerful that it'll be a purposeful day as the people come together with a sense of positivity. Till then, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network. And Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949